Hey, good morning, everyone. So, as promised, we have Rick Cabrera joining us in a little bit for some tips so you can transition from being at home. I'm going into week 9. I'm about to end actually a week 9 of being here at home, working from home. It's been an interesting transition, obviously, for a lot of you who are at home trying to work. You know, we're living in a different world, so it's a little challenging to be able to do all your work that you're used to doing. And I'm a extrovert, so it's been a little challenging for me to not be able to have that connection and that face-to-face connection. You know, we like to touch and we like to hug and we like to shake hands, and it's kind of difficult to it is difficult to do that right now because we are isolated and we have to have that 6 feet of social distancing. But we don't want to continue with the emotional disconnect. So we want to continue connecting with everyone and to bring you some interesting information on how to be able to transition. Now, Rick will be joining us in a little bit. He has to come on board and then I have to invite him. So all this technology, I'm learning how to do all of this. And I think it's also been a challenge because we're learning how to connect with people in a different way, virtual connections. And they're very important because we are all about relationships and how we can make that special connection with somebody. So Rick will be joining us right now. He wrote a column for the El Paso Inc. recently on how he's been transitioning and how maybe healthcare and insurance can help you answer some of those questions you might have. And here we have Rick right now, and I'm going to ask him to join me. Hey, Rick, hang on a sec. Okay, yes. Are you there, Rick? Waiting for Rick Cabrera. So, hey, camera around.
I'm trying.
Hey, what's this with this beard?
This is the Grizzly Adams. It's all the housework I've done.
Oh yeah, housework.
Mostly mangrove beers because they're out hunting and fishing. I've been
Uh-huh.
mopping and dusting. So
and cooking. I understand you've learned how to cook and do a lot of new things, right?
yeah, no, I've got some serious. First of all, great to see you, Estela.
Great
So nice.
seeing you.
You look great as always.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, the OCD kicks in with my cooking though. Where literally I'm like measuring every granule of salt to the T, and I just follow directions. But again, I've never cooked before. Like I literally was the master of burnt toast and cereal with the wrong amount of milk.
Oh gosh, so that has changed, obviously.
About all I could handle. So from that standpoint, things are, there are some positives, I guess, to this new environment we live in. Obviously, we all miss our friends and family and be able to hug those that we care about and be in their space. But at the same time, you have to make it work. And in my case, that's been learning to mop, learning to dust, learning to cook, and learning how not to shave.
Well, and it's working beautifully for you. You know, Rick, it's been a transition for a lot of people. So us extroverts are not used to being at home. And so
Yeah.
it's been a difficult, and I remember setting up my office here at home, and I thought I could work just out of a laptop and with my home computer, and that didn't work. And
Yeah.
my daughter came into town and she set up my computers for me here in my dining room. So I have 2 offices right now, and I go back and forth because I don't have a good connection in my other room in my home office. So I have to come here, and because of the firewalls through University Medical Center, I can't get into a lot of sites. And so it's been a challenge, and I imagine that it's been a challenge for everyone. And what kind of advice do you have now that we settled in at home and got our home office and our work office together, and now we're going to get ready to head on back into the office? We don't know for sure when that's going to happen for University Medical Center Foundation, but everyone is moving towards that, or we have to think ahead and start preparing for this. What kind of tips do you have for us who are getting ready to move back into the office?
Let me just start by saying, so obviously, my background was a journalist. That's what I started. I'm a broadcast journalist, and I've always had a natural inquisitive nature. I think that's why you and I got into this industry. I ask a lot of questions, and to the point, I was talking to a friend recently, and I was asking her about her work transition, and she thought I was going to make a story out of it. You know, and I was like, no, I'm not doing
that. Not anymore. We don't do that anymore. Right.
She was joking, of course, and so was I. But, you know, I literally am naturally inquisitive. So I would say about a month ago, all these ideas started percolating in my head. I reached out to Hub International, where I work now. I'm an employee benefits advisor. And I know they were working on an ebook that we could provide to all of our clients and prospects, and frankly, anyone that wants it. I'm more than willing to share it. It's got some great advice. It's a constantly updated, breathable, searchable document. And at the same time that was taking place on the Hub side, I just started getting incredibly inquisitive about, you know, what are these companies going to have to deal with? Now, not me personally. I'm not a business owner, but certainly I'm going to go to these businesses. I do business with these businesses, and it affects me too in some ways, because I might be walking in there with a colleague or whatever to sell them something or talk to them about a product. So I just started having those questions in my own head, and I put together that article, and that's what led to it. Now, to answer your question in a very long way, you know, for me, the biggest thing is communication. My biggest fear, Estela, is mass lawsuits, to be quite frank with you.
Really?
I'm concerned about employees who feel like they were not listened to. Their concerns about an elderly parent that lives with them, or a child that couldn't get to daycare. Any of those issues where, if you're, as a business owner, not respectful and mindful of their wishes, and I'm not saying you can give into every one of their desires and needs, but you need to be open and welcome to the ideas and concepts they're throwing your way. I think it really is on a case-by-case basis as far as how you deal with them, but you also can't be discriminatory. You need to create a guideline, create your own employee handbook about how you're going to deal with this, communicate, and communicate it to your employees, your clients, your prospects, anyone that you're going to be doing business with, and let them know these are the rules we've established. Because the two things you don't want, number one, is if someone shows up at your place of business, or an employee isn't prepared and there being some kind of kerfuffle, you know what I mean, some kind of issue that comes up. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is, you want to make sure that they come there prepared for whatever it is. If it's going to be a rapid COVID-19 test, or if it's going to be, let's say you're going to do temperature checks, whatever it is, establish a policy, create a task force if you have to, maybe include a couple of managers and a couple of employees and get them to voice it, create a task force, create some guidelines, and stick to it. Don't be discriminatory. But I worry about this because I do think it's a situation where people are going to naturally say, hey, I told my boss I couldn't go in, or I told him this, or when I tested positive, they basically put a scarlet letter on my chest because now I got escorted out of the building in front of all my coworkers, and it was embarrassing. So I think about things like that.
So it's been a challenge, obviously, for business owners. You know, when it's a big corporation, they have, you know, several layers of people coming up with these policies. You know, but for a small business, or maybe a business owner, you know, they're going to be facing a lot of challenges. And there's been at home for employees a lot of anxiety. You know, am I going to pay when I go back? But can we talk maybe a little bit about rights that employees have? Do you know about that?
Yes,
Talk about that?
Well, certainly. The first thing is through the Families First CARES Act, Coronavirus CARES Act, you know, they get 2 weeks of paid leave if they need it. If it's because they have someone who is COVID quarantined, they have a family member with a COVID diagnosis or in contact with someone, or even if it's an issue with childcare, they have some options there. There's also FMLA. So I think you would try to find them an answer. Another thing that we've discussed before is hazard pay. You know, believe it or not, I know small businesses are struggling, but you can provide a little stipend and say, hey, I know this is tough times. I know this is difficult. I know you didn't expect when I hired you to be walking into work with a mask on every day and having your temperature checked. But you've got some rights, absolutely. And I think that's also where the EEOC comes in, and they've set up some guidelines as well. It's in the ebook, but there are some individual employee guidelines that as long as you do and communicate with your HR department, communicate with your bosses, they need to be open to your suggestions and what you're doing. I know in my case, I could work from home for the next 5 years. I'm like you. I finally set it up. I got comfortable. I got my Wi-Fi going. I know you still have a couple of hiccups, but for the most part, I was able to figure things out and establish myself. I had to get a scanner, had to get a better printer, you know, things like that. But but I'm in a good place now as far as that. You know, I jump around from room to room with my laptop. I work in this room one day, I work in this room the other day, depending on what my needs are and what kind of what my focus is. But some of my colleagues are going to eventually have to go back to work, and I will join them at that point. But I understand completely that their concerns and what they're worried about. It's natural to have some skepticism and some concerns. And so you need to communicate to your bosses now and start letting them know, hey, these are my concerns. These are what I wish. Again, whether it's up, down, or down, up, I mean, whether it's from top to bottom or bottom to top, wherever which way that level of communication is going, you have to communicate.
And it's also important to for employees to be mindful of, you know, maybe they won't be able to accommodate me. Maybe I am more useful at work. Maybe I'm not being so useful at home. I'm not putting in those 8 hours. I'm not being effective. So I think it works both ways. So the employer has to work with you, but you also have to work with the employer.
Absolutely.
And it's a challenge. It's a challenge for everyone. And so now that we're transitioning, what should we do? So learn about our rights. Talk to our employer or our immediate supervisor. And what other advice do you have? Oh, keep those lines of communication open.
Yeah, I really think that the key is a task force. If I was going to put together a task force and talk to them and establish a guideline, I would consider staggered scheduling. If you can stagger your schedules, do that for sure. I would reanalyze my floor plan at work. I would absolutely go in there and say, hey, you know, what is my workspace going to be like? What is my situation? I think we're seeing it now, even at like grocery stores and fast food places. They put up those plastic coverings.
Yes.
Yeah, so they're making an effort to reduce the amount of contact. You know, you have to provide them with PPE. And you should ask your employer, hey, when I go to work, are you going to provide me with that PPE? Do you have it? Am I going to have a hand sanitizer at my desk? Am I going to have access to Clorox wipes or whatever it is so I can clean my workspace? All those things need to continue.
I mean, should you bring them? Should you
I don't think
stock up?
Yeah, well, listen, if you're that paranoid and it's something that's a concern to you and your boss says, he or she says, no, you know, we don't have it, I'm sorry. Well, then, yeah, either you need to consider what your path is going to be next, whether that's a complaint to bring up to upper management, or you just bring in your own and split the difference and say, oh, you know what, I can manage this myself. I do have some at home. And by the way, if you do have some at home, can you share with me? Because I'm completely out.
So Rick, I remember you cleaning that anchor desk all the time right before every newscast.
Yeah.
I know how you like to.
Well, did you see those people on the noon show? I mean, give me a break.
That's right. That's right.
I'm joking. I'm joking. But yeah, I forgot about that, Estela. You busted me on that one. Hey, I'm a little jealous. Why did you get to wear makeup today? When we were together, we both got to wear makeup.
Well, you can go and put on the makeup now.
Okay, I'll be right back. Hold on.
Just don't use any of that mascara, okay?
Yeah, exactly.
These are some tough times for a lot of people, for business owners, for people who are working from home, people who have lost their jobs. More than 50,000 people in El Paso have lost their jobs. So, you know, we're very lucky to be able to work from home and to not be furloughed and to not have our pay cut and to not have all of those things and be safe at home. But you know, we have to eventually make it into the office, and there are a lot of things that we do need to consider. And also, after you leave your home and back into the office, there's going to be some changes here at home too. Are you going to come and cook for me?
What's that?
Are you going to come and cook for me?
What would you like? I can make shrimp scampi, chicken parm, fideo con pollo, you know, whatever you want.
Wow, I'm impressed. Well, I'm going to have to take you up on that.
But there is a delivery charge.
And delivery charge too.
Yes.
You know, we have a lot of things to think about, and we have to be very conscious of our decisions as well. So staggered, you know, coming back maybe 25% of the workforce, or you know, maybe 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week, and then 3 days a week, and then just move from there. Office space, if you have 2 people working in an office, let's separate them. Or if it's a big office and you're 12 feet away, you're going to be okay. So how do we help people with that anxiety that they're feeling? Well, I'm going to be exposed to a lot more people, but at home I have my spouse or my kid who works somewhere, and they're bringing germs in too. So it's just a tough decision for everyone.
It is, and again, I think it ultimately comes down to how productive are you at home? Are you getting the work done that's requested of you? certainly if I was sitting on my hands all day, every day, Hub wouldn't be very happy with that. And I understand that. So I feel like if anything, I'm working as hard as ever.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if I'm the norm, if I'm the anomaly. I don't know that because, I'm not peeking over your shoulder every day.
Right.
But I guess that's the key. The first thing is to make sure that they're being productive at home. And if they can stay from home, have them stay at home. If you've worked out a system and worked out a routine and you're able to make sure they're on task and on point and getting the things need to get done, then let them continue. The one that I thought there's just so many finite little details you have to think about, Estela. I know someone that does, they get tested. I'm sure they're at UMC as they're walking into work every day. They have to do a temperature check, right?
Absolutely.
But that line's going to build up. So when I'm in that line, I'm on the clock. So a company has to establish, okay, well, I've not been tested yet, but I need to clock in. Mm-hmm. So is it an electronic clock in? Is there another way? Is it the honor system? Because when I get in that line, I need to be on the clock. And then on top of that, let's say I test positive. We talked about it a bit ago. Mm-hmm. Well, where do I go? Like, do you just send me out of the line and everyone stares me down and says, look at him. He's tested positive. He has a temperature. And those are things that people are conscious of. I get that. So I think you've got to establish a situation where you have those protocols in place, and then on top of that, if you do the rapid COVID testing, it takes about 10 minutes. So where do these people go for 10 minutes until you get the results? And then when you get the results, do you tap them on the shoulder and say, beat it? What do you do? Yeah. So again, there's just so many little details. That's why I wrote that article 2 weeks ago because I wanted people to start brainstorming. It didn't have all the answers. It wasn't industry specific, but like you and I are having this conversation, it's a great jumping off point for companies to start thinking, wait a sec, I hadn't thought about that. Or who's going to be in charge of this? Who's going to make sure we have that? And once you have those conversations, that's really the key. All you can do is prepare as best you can, because what we deal with today might be completely different a week from now.
Right. So just start thinking how you can be more productive at home and how you will be even more productive when you return to work, and just a lot of questions. But Rick, thank you for that. Anything you'd like to add about that before we get into some other kind of conversation?
No, I think that's it. I think I've been on about 20 webinars tied to back to work practices and return to work. So again, there's a lot of options out there. Obviously, I would check with my employment lawyer to see what the rights are of my employees. I would make sure I establish those guidelines. And, there are all kinds of finite rules, and whether you're talking about, requirements from the EEOC, you're talking about CDC requirements. There's a lot of books you need to touch and look into to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do and make sure these employees have their rights, which we've talked about, that they're getting the right to be treated in a civil manner with respect, and their concerns and their anxiety is respected and dealt with in a professional manner.
Yeah, but it's your responsibility to control that anxiety as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, some great information, Rick. So tell me, how are you doing?
I'm good. I played golf the other day.
Really? Well, there was probably only 4 of you or less, right? Or by yourself?
Only 3 of us.
Okay.
But we kept our distance. One person on the tee box at a time. One person basically putting it. Well, you always putt one at a time anyway. You should. That's right. But quite frankly, I have my good and bad days. I think I'm like there are some days where I work from home and I'm like, man, what a great day. I got a lot accomplished and really productive, and it's a beautiful weather. I'm going to take the dog for a walk now. And I put my head on the pillow and I think this was a solid day and this was good. And today, COVID-19 didn't get me in terms of my anxiety or my fears or my inability to focus. And today I won. It was victorious for me. And then lo and behold, the next day I wake up and I'm just like, I don't want to be on that computer. I'm not feeling it. I'm tired. I want to see a buddy, or I want to visit with someone, or I just want to, share a cup of coffee with someone at Starbucks.
Right.
Or have a nice dinner, have a reason to shave,
That's right. Well, I hope you shower. I hope you shower every day, okay?
Well, you're showering every day, Estela?
Yes, of course. Of course. It's been a challenge for me too. Because I'm used to getting up and showering and putting makeup on and wearing high heels and wearing a dress, and sometimes, I get up in the morning and come straight to the computer, and you're right. There are days when it is tough and you work from 8 to 9 and you're constantly going. And so I think we all have good days and bad days, and we're working very, very hard at home. So we have to make time. You know, my son Andres says, "Hey, let's go take a walk." So I've been enjoying the sunsets. I've been enjoying walking with the dogs. I had 3 dogs for a little bit. Now I'm down to 1. It's been a challenge, and I'm cooking and I'm cleaning and I'm doing laundry, and you know, it's a challenge for everyone.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, it's a new way of life. It's a concept we never imagined, right? We never
Right.
thought
Right.
life. And then in your case, you just transitioned from Channel 7. So you got a double whammy, you know, and again, I know you love your time. And I think what you're doing for UMC and the foundation is phenomenal. My hats are off. Hats? Is
How
off.
many hats do you have?
I'm taking all my hats and I'm putting them off to you, okay?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, you know, Rick, I was just 30 days into my new job, and yes, you know, we came home. So I think it's given me a little time to learn how everything works at UMC and the foundation, and so it's given me a little bit of time. But now I'm starting to reconnect with people. I'm having Zoom meetings with not only my staff, but also with clients, with donors, with people that we need to connect and continue cultivating that relationship. So it has been a challenge, but you know, like everything, you just got to do what you got to do, right?
Well, I mean, you don't have a choice, right? I mean, no one's giving you the option of not doing anything with this.
Exactly.
You've got to deal with the hand you've been dealt.
Yes.
It is. I think for you in particular, the one thing I thought about, I think we may have discussed this recently, is, you know, it's a chance for you to educate yourself more. You're, like you said, on the processes and the protocols there at UMC. I know for me, I've done a lot of webinars, some continuing education trainings, and I really learned and brushed up on some topics related to employee benefits that I was good at, but I wasn't great at. And I want to be a topic expert. I want to be the expert whether we're talking about, you know, journalism or the product we put out together at Channel 7, or whether we're talking about employee benefits and Hub International. I want to be the expert. And this has granted me that time to have a little bit of downtime every now and then, to maybe devote 30 minutes to reading up on a release from, you know, a benefits broker or benefits provider, and learn more about the industry. So it's been positive.
It's all good. You got to find the positive in everything, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to. So we've had a good run so far, trying to raise money for El Paso Children's Hospital Foundation and UMC Foundation. We started the COVID-19 Compassionate Care Fund, and we've raised some money there to buy PPEs for our staff, to help families affected by COVID-19 who have stayed at the hospital, and children as well. And we've also raised close to $200,000 for El Paso Children's Hospital to buy bronchoscopes and high-level sterilization units. And as you know, Rick, you know, El Paso has many needs in our healthcare system, and people are always, you know, getting sick. And because of COVID-19 doesn't mean that people can't stop having their cancer treatments or chemotherapy or radiation or surgeries or all of these things. We got to remind people that you have to stay on top of your health. Even through COVID-19, you still have to go see your doctor, especially if it's something urgent, if you need your chemo. So I got word the other day, Rick, that they asked him to put off his something to do with his heart. Well, he died. The guy died because they couldn't get him in to get treatment. Somebody else who was at a nursing home and needed to be checked with diabetes, and their treatment was delayed 6 weeks, and they lost a foot. So, you know, all of that other stuff is still happening on top of COVID. So we have to be very well aware of our bodies and aware of our surroundings and aware of our being and our role in this.
I agree. I think I lost you there for a sec. I'll tell you, Estelle, I have a friend who wants to donate a kidney to his father, and that's been put on hold. But while it's been put on hold, he also has to be incredibly careful because he doesn't want to catch COVID-19, because they made it clear to him that if he does get the coronavirus, he is no longer a donor.
Oh, wow. No longer a donor. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah. You know, so many challenges. But we'll get through this. We'll get through this. And thank you so much for all your tips. We don't want to prolong this conversation too much, but I like your beard. I'm glad
Can
you're
we
doing
talk about
well. I
that?
think you need a haircut. I think you may
Oh
need
my
a haircut.
gosh, this is terrific. I try not to look at myself in the mirror in the mornings, and now I'm regretting it already.
Hey Rick, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and we'll do another little Instagram interview with more tips as we move closer to moving back into our offices. I appreciate you. It's always fun to see you, and we'll see you soon. I'm gonna have to order some of that shrimp scampi from you someday. Okay?
What was that last part? My kiss.
Some shrimp scampi from you.
Ooh, yeah, I may do it. I'm pretty good. I'm getting good.
Okay. Hey, you take care. Say hi to your family. Stay well, stay safe, and thank you again.
Likewise. God bless you, Estela. Stay strong.
Bye-bye.